Hey, read through the word. How are y'all today? Today is July 26th, and today's lesson is called Man of Sorrows. We are in the suffering servant portion of Isaiah, and when you have read it, I'm not sure if y'all watch me first or read and then read. I'm not sure everybody does it differently. That this is a section of Isaiah that you are very familiar with. Now, my allergies are going crazy again today, so I am so sorry. I'm trying not to sneeze. But 2 years ago, so on July 26th of 2020, I looked it up. I did like a deep dive into this suffering servant section, and because a misunderstanding of this text is why Israel does not recognize Jesus as Messiah. So if you want to go back and watch that, and I referenced a Day of Discovery broadcast about the mystery of Isaiah 53, which was really good too. I think if there's a link there, I just went back and looked at it. So go back and look at that. I'm holding myself back again. So y'all know I write everything down in a little notebook. And so my notes are crazy. Because we are looking at today Isaiah 53:3 is what I want us to look at. But go back and look for something old is actually that entire text of the suffering servant. So 52:13 to 53:12. But the verse we're looking at today is, he was despised and rejected, a man of sorrows, acquainted with deepest grief. Man of sorrows. Now, let's take a look at some words. We are looking at sorrow and what that means. What does it mean that the suffering servant, who we know as Jesus, is a man of sorrows? And you hear Jesus called man of sorrows. This is why, and I'm going to show you what that means. Okay, so sorrows is now King James, the New King James, and then we see right here in our NLT. NLT calls it man of sorrows. The NIV says sufferings. The ESV says if you have an ESV, if you look in your footnote, ESV is good about this. They'll tell you in what I call your nerd notes. In your nerd notes, or it's really before the nerd notes, before you get to the commentary section at the bottom, there's usually some really tiny letters, and it might say a better translation of this word would be pains. And that's what ESV says. Because we're here in this section of, there are 4 servant songs in the book of Isaiah, which I talked about back in 2020. And this is the 4th of the 4 servant songs. And this is the song of the suffering servant. What does it mean about suffering, sorrows, that whole idea of what Jesus suffered? Now, there's many different ways. We're going to look at, I think I have it, 3 different ways, sorrows, and then more details in each 3 different ways. First way, Jesus suffered. The servant suffered by leaving heaven. First thing, that's how he suffered. Put on flesh, dwelt among us. John 1:14 talks about that he put on flesh and dwelt among us. That was suffering. Being limited by a physical body. And because of that, then the second part is he suffered with humanity. And you see 3 different sections. I'll write the references here. First thing you see is that Jesus cried at the death of Lazarus because, and there's so many different ways to look into why Jesus wept right there. But the text, well, let's look at it together. We're in John 11. Today might go a little over. Shh. John 11:33 through 35. I just had to make an eye doctor appointment because, I wear glasses most of the time, and now I can't even see. But they glare really bad on here, so I don't wear them here. It says, therefore, when Mary came from where Jesus was, she saw him and fell at his feet, saying to him, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. And when Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who came with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and was troubled, and said, where have you laid him? And they said to him, Lord, come and see. And Jesus wept. So death, the final enemy, had come and hurt people he loved. He loved Mary and Martha and Lazarus. It come and hurt. So Jesus is a man of suffering. He felt the same pain we feel when a loved one dies. He felt that. He was a man of sorrow, just like we have. The second one we see is that Jesus wept over the city of Jerusalem, over the hardness of their hearts towards God. So, Luke 19, verses 41 through 44. It says this, when he approached Jerusalem, he saw the city and wept over it. I lost my place. Okay. Saying, if you had known in this day, even you, the things which make for peace, but now they've been hidden from your eyes. For the days will come upon you when your enemies will throw up a barricade against you and surround you and hem you in on every side. And they will level you to the ground and your children with you. And they will not leave you one stone upon the other, because you did not recognize the time of your visitation. Suffering because of the hardness of their hearts toward God. Jesus wept. He was a man of sorrows. The next thing we see is that Jesus was anguished and distressed in the Garden of Gethsemane. Go to Matthew. Matthew chapter 26, verses 37 and 38. It says this, and he took with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee and began to be grieved and distressed. I always look, like when you're looking at these three different translations, look at the emotions it says with Jesus and look at the translation and all the different words used there. And look at different translations and see how it is translated. It gives you a better idea of the sorrow that Jesus is experiencing. And then he said to them, my soul is deeply grieved to the point of death. Remain here and keep watch with me. So what we see is that sin and its effects on people made Jesus a man of sorrow. So he left heaven. That made him a man of sorrow. Sin and what sin does to people made him a man of sorrow. And experiencing that as fully God and fully human, he's a man of sorrow. And the third way about his suffering is he suffered as a sin bearer. Jesus was a man of sorrow so that our sorrows may be removed. He came to be a man of sorrow so that we one day will not have sorrow anymore. Okay, Isaiah even tells us about that. So we're going to go back to Isaiah. Today's a Bible Olympics day, people. Isaiah 25, verse 8 says this, and he will swallow up death for all time, and the Lord will wipe tears away from all faces, and he will remove the reproach of his people from all the earth. He's removing the sorrow. So we see that, but then we see it actually happen. So jump with me. Revelation 21, verse 4. It says this, and he will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there will no longer be any death, any mourning or crying or pain. The first things have passed away. The man of sorrows made a way for me to live with him forever with no sorrow. He became a man of sorrows so that I will one day have no more sorrow. That's amazing. But here's the thing. Jesus, all the sorrow he goes through, he rejoices in because he sees what it means for us. So, Hebrews 12:2. It says this: fixing our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down in the right hand of the Father. I really like the NLT translation in that. That was NASB, but I really like the NLT because it does say sorrow. Jesus is a man of sorrow so that one day there will be no more sorrow. This song, The Suffering Servant, gives us just a glimpse into the depths of his love for us. And I am so thankful for that. We'll see you next time on Read Through the Word.